Hello. Good everyone. How are you everyone? So how do you say how are you in Swahili? Sorry? Mari. Okay. So it's great to be here. My name is John Adilano. I'm a senior startup solutions architect at AWS. I work with startups across Africa and the Middle East. My clicker in building secure, optimized, and resilient architectures. Sorry. Is this a clicker? Okay, sorry. I need to be sure it's. Sorry? Just set up.
This goes to the right, this goes to the left.
Okay, perfect. So, yes, my name is John Adilano. So, before we start, if you are here today and you are thinking of building a product based on generative AI, just thinking, could you signify by a show of hands? Or if you are building or experimenting on Gen AI, bravo. So I'm speaking to the right audience. So briefly, we'll be looking at innovation opportunities and trends in generative AI. We also look at the importance of data, and we'll look at considerations and trends for those interested in building on generative AI and some next steps. So we take some steps back, or 2 steps back, to 2023. In 2023, generative AI made a fast, rapid ascent to the forefront of global conversations. And the impact of generative AI then in 2023 could be seen in the surge in news articles around generative AI, could be seen in boardroom agendas and executive mandates on generative AI, and could also could also be seen in the influx of venture funds flowing into the space. And individuals and corporates alike were interested in exploring this new technology. And one important metric which I find interesting is the sheer number of POCs that were built in 2023. And we can rightfully say that 2023 is the year of POCs. So let's move a step forward to 2024. So in 2024, startups and organizations alike now had a production mindset. They were ready to push some of these workloads to production to derive some benefits. And that leads us to the current year, that is the year of business value. In the current year, startups and organizations are interested in extracting maximum value from generative AI. They're interested in how to transform their organizations using generative AI. So we look at some trends and opportunities in generative AI. For convenience, we have categorized this into 4 broad categories. So let's quickly look at it. The first is new experiences. Generative AI enables you to create new and innovative ways of engaging and interacting with your customers and your employees. And I'll give you an example. For a fintech, one key feature on a fintech app is the transaction history. With generative AI, you can have new interfaces for your customers. How? On your transaction history, your customers are now able to chat with your transaction history. They are now able to chat with the data. They can ask questions like, how can I meet my financial goals? How can I optimize my spending? Gen AI is also useful for productivity. Consider an edutech creating educational content for students. They will need to employ illustrators, creating thousands of images. This takes a lot of time and effort, and of course, money. With generative AI, you're able to generate stunning studio quality images in minutes at reduced cost and at a faster pace than what human illustrators would do. Generative AI also enables business leaders to extract insights from business data so it can analyze the financial results, market data, and internal metrics using generative AI. And lastly, you can also introduce creativity into your startup using generative AI. You can use generative AI for product development and product enhancements. So let's look at some use cases across various industries. You can enhance customer experiences by building chatbots and virtual assistants. You can also boost employee productivity and creativity by code generation for your developers or even document processing for your internal staff. So let's look at the place of data. I tell you, data is very important. At AWS, we work with tens and thousands of startups. And when we interact with these business leaders, they do understand the place of generative AI, but there's something that we hear from these startup founders. They're interested in the different foundation models that they can use. And this is interesting because this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's more beyond just foundation models, and I'll tell you. Underneath the iceberg of generative AI is a massive array of capabilities that is based on data foundation. Capabilities around operational databases, capabilities around data analytics and data lakes, capabilities around data governance and compliance, capabilities around data integration, whether you are batching your data or you are streaming your data. And all of these capabilities help to enhance the quality of your generative AI application. So I tell you today that your data is your differentiator. How? All startups have access to the same foundation models. I mean, anyone can access any foundation model. But what makes you stand out is your data. And that's the difference between building a generic generative AI application and a generative AI application that knows your customers. So let's consider a startup building a personalized virtual agent. They will need to consider data like past trips of their customers, the web history of their customers. They will also need to infuse company data rather, like flight and hotel itinerary or promotions, right? And at the end of the day, they're able to give personalized recommendations to their customers. That is what we are discussing. And let's go to the elephant in the room. I tell you, yesterday's leading model is not today's leading model. And today's leading foundation model is not tomorrow's leading foundation model. So at AWS, at Amazon, we have a stand, and our position is that no one model would rule them all. So what is our proposition at AWS? Our proposition is a platform called Amazon Bedrock, which is the easiest way to build and scale generative AI applications with powerful tools and foundation models without you needing to consider what model to use. And I'll explain. Amazon Bedrock gives you a choice of leading foundation models through a single API. So rather than you focusing on decisions around foundation model, you are focused on innovation and creativity. And if the current leading model changes, all you need to do is to connect to the leading model. You don't need to be fixated on yesterday's model. Amazon Bedrock enables you to even improve the models by customization, With Amazon Bedrock, you can infuse retrieval augmented generation, RAG, into your generative AI workflows. This enables you to connect to your internal company data and provide very apt and accurate responses to your customers based on your internal company data. And you can build agents. Agents are very interesting. Agents help you to orchestrate workflows with generative AI. You can go beyond simple chat, right? And create complex processes. For instance, you could start by booking a flight, booking the hotel. What next? Booking a ride from the hotel from the airport to the hotel. You can have multiple steps, right? And that is the power of agents. And Bedrock comes with the enterprise-grade security of Amazon and covers areas like privacy and data governance. So Amazon Bedrock gives you access to a plethora of models from leading providers like Meta, Anthropic, Amazon, and others. And beyond that, Amazon Bedrock Marketplace exposes you to over 100 models. So the proposition here is that instead of being fixed on yesterday's leading model, you can just be fixated on innovation and creativity. So it gives that power of choice. And this is an interesting one. I mean, in the last couple of days, folks were focused on DeepSeek and the potentials DeepSeek offers. If you're interested in infusing DeepSeek into your development process, on Bedrock, it's as simple as just using DeepSeek on Bedrock. That is the value proposition we are discussing, the power of choice. So I'll give you an example of a startup, a company, an organization that is using Bedrock. You have tens of thousands of them. Booking.com is a familiar startup, and leveraging Bedrock, they are able to use the best foundation model. They have also enhanced these models using their internal company data to build a solution that knows their customers. So they are not just building generic foundation models. So what does the future hold for generative AI? One, agents. With agents, you are not just focused on simple chat applications. You can have full workflows. You can initiate complex processes. You can start processes that submit to another process, that submit to another process. This is something you should watch out for. Next, we have multimodal. What does that mean? You can move, rather than having text-to-text engagement, right? You can have text to video, video to voice. You can break the barrier in the models. What's also next? We can have multiple models. So I've seen a startup build a solution, a generative AI solution, with 3 models, 3 foundation models, rather than using one. So this is the way you do it. When you create a platform, right, there are priorities. Your priorities could be around cost. Your priorities could be around speed. Your priority could be around accuracy. So depending on the module of the application, you could actually call different models from different parts of the same application. And the future, we should also consider AI governance and security standards. We envisage that in the coming future, there will be more emphasis on governance for data. And at AWS, we are positioned to deliver safe, responsible, and transparent artificial intelligence. And with great power comes great responsibility. So we believe that responsibility drives transparency. We believe that transparency drives adoption. And we believe that adoption drives innovation. So how do you get started with generative AI? 1, select the right use case. We believe that business units, business teams, and tech teams should have proper alignment on the best use cases, right? And you should assess the fit of your generative AI use cases. So if you are struggling to find a fit for your generative AI project, we have a full team from AWS in the team. We have Oo there, we have Henry there, we have Nicholas there, and we have a lot of, yeah, thank you very much. And we have our partners outside there. You can go to the AWS booth. We can give you guidance about choosing the best fits for your use cases. And secondly, empower your teams. So you can also speak to us if you want to understand how to empower your teams. Once you've done that, get started. Production mindset, and move to production. And fifth, you should measure the results. Remember in 25, I said 25 is the year of getting business value. So some strategic recommendations: keep your eyes wide open. A culture of continuous experimentation. A culture that enables you to have access to the leading models whenever you need it, so that you are not just fixated on yesterday's leading model. You should also be flexible in your approach. No one size fits all. I mean, no one model rules them all. And you should have an agile mindset. Listen, learn, innovate. So I created a quick demo to show the power of Bedrock. If you have your phone, you could snap this and see how this works. And you have access to all of the codes. So this is one of the ways we enable startups to learn about generative AI. You have all of the descriptions and the codes, and you can get it after this session. So it's an investment application that enables users to plan investment portfolios. So let's see how it works. So you have parameters, name, age. So what this application does is that it's taking the lifestyle parameters of the users. Parameters like the name, risk appetite, age, retirement age, amount to invest, marital status, and number of kids. And it's going to give recommendations on what this user should invest in. Right. So let's see how it works. So leveraging generative AI, we can see how Bedrock has enabled this application to give recommendations like the investment summary. You can see based on your age of 40 years, medium risk appetite, planned retirement age of 60 years, there's a recommendation. And this recommendation is in different categories. You can see the equity investment, the allocation amount, the allocation percentage, even recommendation, and the reason for the recommendation. So all of these are simple strategies in generative AI to get great results. You can see equity investment. You can even draw a graph. And like I said, you have access to the full code. So download everything from the GitHub repo and start building. You can even extend the application. You can see the additional note. Even the application is including resources for the user. And here's the code. Like I said, you have access to all of the codes. And beyond this, if you want to talk to us, we have a full team. Please engage us. We have our booth outside, and we have the full squad here to listen to you. So moving on, at Amazon, we are a data-driven organization, and we don't just like speaking. We also like to hear from you. So this is an opportunity to hear from you. Please bring out your phone. This is important for us. We'd like to take feedback. What's worked well? What didn't work well? What would you like to see in subsequent engagement? What are you looking at? Please, the survey is anonymous and it takes less than a minute to fill. So we can take questions. I have 2 minutes left. Mike?
Thank you so much for the presentation. My name is Kalea. My question is, what is the adoption of Gen AI and cloud-native technologies that AWS integrates with? What is the adoption here on the continent? Are startups actually using the technology, or are you trying to get them to use it?
Great question. And that's why I did an analysis of the trends over the years. I started from 2023. So what we saw is we saw a lot of startups running POCs, running experiments that were not in production. In 2023, 2024, we saw a lot of startups having a production mindset and pushing whatever they had to production. However, there are other nuances around speed, around costs, because they could be expensive, nuances around accuracy. So that's why in 2025, the trend we are now seeing is that startups in Africa and outside of Africa are now interested in business value. They're interested in the ROI, and they're interested in how generative AI can actually transform their startup. And that's what we are discussing. Questions? Otherwise, I call it a day. So the full team is there. Meet us in our booths.